Right, so again, I'm going to call this get GUID 4. I'm going to use args dot arg dot any long and then for the two values, I'm going to use arg dot any null long. And I will returns returns a tenant object with a generated GUID. So tenant external identifier GUID.new GUID. And then I need to capture the output from my subcom. And assert that returned object is not null. And that my tenants repository received one call to get GUID for the values 1, null. And I'll set that tenant ID should not be empty. Alright, so I need to add this to the interface. This will be my queryable tenant. This long tenant ID, long application ID, and site ID. And then we're going to need to implement that. So that's building. So for the moment, I'm just going to check that the repository received one call, regardless of the arguments that passed in. And when we run it, the not implemented exception. Oops, must builder here. So this needs to be a new list tenant. New list tenant. and new tenant, and then build mock. This fails if they're not implemented. Exception. Right. So, I'm going to take a slightly different approach to this method. Uh, uh, where am I? So I'd like to use projector, but for this method, I may or may not receive a location ID or a site ID. And my understanding is that you can't use dynamic runtime values using that projection method. So for this service method, I will manually project into the DTO I want to return. So after I call my my repository, repository with for let's change that method signature as well. Oh no, that's the signature. We need to change this on that. And change that there. Forgot about that. This no wait. Sorry. Now we're gonna go dot select new management glitch DTR tenant ID equals t dot external identifier. And dot first or default async. Cancellation time. So I was getting a warning. So we're going to ignore that for now. And so now when I run my test, it should pass. Go. So we're just doing 2 more tests, and this portion will be complete. So we can pass a location and a site ID to the GUIDs, to the get GUIDs for method. So I need tests for these scenarios. I'm going to choose inline data and repurpose my existing tests to cater for this scenario. So first I need to change my attribute to inline my auto data and specify the values I want to provide to the test. So long and null and null. And then modify my test signature to accept a tenant ID. Location ID, nullable long site ID. And then I'll change my repository setup to accept these inputs. So that's so this will only return the output value from the mock when it's given these precise values. I need to capture this value into a variable so I can assert on it. This will be the expected tenant ID. I'll put this in here. Oh, no, sorry. So this is tenant ID, location ID, site ID. Yeah. Same. ID, location ID, site ID. Oh. It's going to testing several permutations of this. Need the inputs to be exact. So I'm going to do this again. Pass this. So now that's done, I need to set up my tenant to include a location. If a location ID is included in the method call. And I'll use an inline if to do this. So, yeah, locations equals location ID not equal to null. And that. So new location. External identifier GUID.new GUID. And files order interior. Done. Let's set that up. And then I need to capture this into a variable. Oops. And we'll call that expected location ID. Ah, crap. Okay. So I only want to place one recurrence. This variable, one recurrence var expected location ID. And so we got and then in the assertion we check if the location was provided. So actual dot location ID dot should be location ID not equals to null. We'll go location ID, otherwise it is empty GUID. We'd expect. Dot location ID dot should be location ID not equal to null. Sorry, expected location ID GUID empty. And then I can add my attributes for this test and run. I will go 1, we'll go 2, and no. And if I run, we see that we have a failure on the new test because the location ID is expected to be this, but was in fact an empty GUID, and we know the reason for that. It's because we've not had it. So in the TenantService, now I need to salt that. So is it? So I'm going to make use of inline if, and so location ID equals location ID dot as value If that's to liberty.locations dot where so where the ID matches the provided ID, so we'll have oops, L dot ID equals location ID dot value. And then I want to select just the external identifier, call first or default. Otherwise, all the good document. And then back in my test, I need to ensure the ID some multiplication as ID equals ID equals the ID, and that's coming from this, and it's obviously location ID dot value. And if I run my test now, should pass. Oh. I'm gonna get past. And then we can finish this by adding in the attribute that provides our site ID. The first label. Yeah, so we need to add a site to location mark. Yeah, so sites, and this is site ID not equal to null. So we have new size of that. So yeah, we want new ID equals a site ID dot value, the external identifier is GUID.new GUID. Capture this as expected site ID. And then actual dot site ID should be same thing again. Site ID not equal to null. Expected site ID, otherwise it's GUID.empty. Run, and I should see a failure. And site ID is not set, so we need to apply into our projection. TenantService. Good. And say we got site ID. Site ID dot value. So this we will always have a location ID as part of this. So again, you can take this portion. Dot where location ID dot value, and then we want to flatten this. Site and where the site ID is equal to site ID value. From this, we just want the external identifier. We'll call first or default. And if otherwise, we've got with dot empty. I can run my test and it shall pass. TDD. So that does the tenant service unit test, and we can move on to the final part at refactoring, and that is writing the test for the repository. These, however, will not be unit tests, but there will be integration tests against an in-memory database. So first, I need to ensure that I am seeding my tests with the correct data. So we have the three scenarios: tenant, tenant and location, and finally tenant, location and site. So in my class fixture, in here I can see that I'm only populating tenants into me in memory store. So if I look at the default tenant, I can see that it uses one for the ID, and the external identifier is set to a non-constant. Same for location, the default one, an external identifier tied to tenant. Today, so with that in mind, may as well write that first test. So, as I'll be testing several permutations, this will be a theory. Come on. So, theory, and I'll be using inline data. Inline data. I'm not going to use AutoFixture for this part, just plain X unit. As these are integration tests, my constructor does the setup. There's no arranging these tests, so I have no need for it. And I'll use the same assertions as this for my test. Positive test. Right. So I have an inline data. My first is tenant ID, null location, null site. Oops, null site. I'll call this get goes for give value ID returns a queryable of tenant and need my parameters. So tenant ID nullable one location ID and a nullable one of site ID. And I'm just going to take this and this, just because so I just want to return first the matches from the repository call. I'm starting just with tenant. I'm going to leave that off for now. That will add that in because that's what's in my notes. So, yeah. So to begin with, we're just going to query tenants table, build it up piece by piece. So, into methods. Actually, there's no implementation, so we'll run that. And we can see fail. And it doesn't. Cut and paste there. Actually, these need to be location. This is why we don't copy and paste. Yeah, that'll be if I could type. Right. So that's the test properly. And that's why we run it. So we don't make silly mistakes like that. Now we see failure as we expect. not implemented. So to begin with, we're just going to basically we're going to do this. So for the moment, I'll change that. I'm just going to clean that up. Right, so where t.id equals tenant ID. And that's all we need to do to get first party passing. And that test passes. So I'll add the inline data attribute for adding in location. This is 2. And then I'll add my assertion for the location here. Cool. Make yeah, dot locations. So I'm going to create. I want to use fluid assertions for this. So I'm going to create an extension method to do this using fluid assertions and constraints. We need a new class in infrastructure test. I'm just going to drop this. I'm going to drop this in root here. Add class. It's a fluid assertions extension. This will want to be a public static class. And in this, I'm going to create the extension method. Public static, and it's using the add constraint. I've got check it's installed. Sessions. It is installed. So why is it not picking it up? Might be a good day today. A constraint. Generic collection assertions. And this is going to be the location entity. And I'll call this should have location if provided. Location if provided. This will need to take in the collection. So this collection location. So we'll call locations and nullable long for location ID. So in here we've got return location ID dot value and locations dot should contain single, because it should only be one. Where the location ID equals location ID. Otherwise, the assertion should be null or empty. Should be null. Locations should be null or empty. And then I can use that nice fluent syntax here. Should have location if provided. Location ID. And I can run that. And you'll see failure. So we need to add in the code for that Tenant repository. This will be if location ID not equal to null. Queryable equals queryable dot where see that location. Sorry. Pardon me, sorry. So my queryable, I want to include the location where the where any L dot ID equals location ID. So yeah, we're including locations. We're going to pull it through where there's any matching location to the given ID. So I can run this. That don't pass. So that's me test. So I'm going to add the as no tracking. I think this forces it to do something that's needed from the test. No, I expect to actually not to be null. Okay. Yeah, of course. We haven't seen it in the data. So I've made the repository method, but we need the data. So in here, I'm going to create a new method called populate locations. And in this method, I just want to create a new list of locations. Location. And I'm going to call an extension method on my AutoFixture class called add additional default location. Tenant ID will be one. But I also want to be able to set a value. So I need to make a slight modification to this method. So I'm just going to them both in. So that, want to make sure all the pulls one. To this method, and I will blank of location ID. Just make sure that equals null. Nullable one equals null, and I'm just going to add in a call with. I'm going to set the ID to location ID, and if that's null, I'm going to ask the fixture to create me a long in there. Spilled that for the some errors. So this is deleted. So I just need to name these arguments now. What's the sort of those? So I can go back to my class fixture. So we've got this populated, and then we just need to add them into the DB context. So range locations. And then when I run this test now, it passes. So we repeat this flat out. So I will create the new extension method. Like the inline data attribute. I'll do this as 3 hours. This will be called should have site if provided. So let's go to this class, public static and constraint, direct collection assertion, management site should have site if provided this collection management site and nullable site ID. Actually, it's not quite right. It's going to be tenant. It's not close. I'm just going to do it. What am I doing? Tenant. Mobile lamp. So, currently, if I have a site ID, I will have a location ID. So it's coming out. So, I'm just going to populate my extension method from the notes. And what am I going to do now? From back at the test. Actual dot. Should have site if provided. Site ID. And that's the reason why I put it onto tenant, is because locations are sub of locations. So yeah, inside of a try catch block, so I had issues. I will select all the sites, flatten them into this list here, and then I'll just, if all sites, if site ID has value, then I can assert that all sites should contain the single the matching site ID, otherwise I expect it to be null. So and run my test. And if one now fails, which is what we expect. So we're not seeded in data. So, but before we do seeding it, yeah, let's seed in data. So I'm going to call it populate sites, create a method, populate sites, and in base, populate new list. management site, and again I'm going to call an extension method, so add additional default site, and this will go into location 2. I also want to be able to specify the site ID on this. Oops. And stayed in another thing to send location. So I need to modify this. Taking a nullable long site ID, default to null, and with ms.id, site ID or AutoFixture to create a long value for us. And we'll build for the build errors. I'll add these into his sites collection. And this set deleted flag. I'm going to test again, make sure there's no errors, and then the right code. So we're expecting in this test for it to contain a single item. So in this repository, this queryable. So in this usage, if we have a site ID, then a location ID will be present. Underneath, there'll be no currently. There'll be no tenant and just site. That's the scenario handled by function, but applies to other APIs. The location ID is not required. Means that if our site ID is not equal to null, we yeah, so I'm going to use same queryable to limit it to the location ID. No. Include locations where the locations Any what am I doing? Include locations, and then I'm going to include sites. Site where locations.any has a matching ID. And L dot and L dot size dot any is, let me check the ID matches the given site ID. Value. Close that. There we go. Right. Now if we run yay, test passes. So I can give us a quick manual test, ensure it all works. Ensure everything's started. Yeah. Looks like both are now started. Okay, so I need to log into my account. So token and my API and its test grid. And if it like don't work, I get this weird error. It's trying to cast a GUID to a string. Not entirely sure why, but it's probably something to do with the projection and the null values. Generated SQL probably does some sort of exist or join, and the empty GUID isn't returning its proper type in the expression when it's mapped to SQL. So the fix for this is oh, it's wrong one. named service. It is to replace this with to create a new GUID, passing it into GUID. So new GUID, GUID.empty.string. I'll copy that and just down here. Oops. Oh God. Yeah. So if I run this now. It works. So I can check the SQL. We can see on the querying tenants table if I try and pull the location. We'll see. We've got this one. So again, copy that out into here. We can see we've got an inner query here where it's limited to location ID, and it'll fall back to a empty GUID, and then it's as long as it exists. So there's a matching location to the ID. If I'm on the site, let's see. This time, slightly more to it, but same as last time. So we got his location, and then our site ID. It's done in a similar manner. But what I can see here on the site, I'm pulling the whole site table. So it's not very efficient. And all we need is the external identifier, like what we do when we query locations. So the where clause yeah. So so we check a site exists. So let's fix let's fix this. So sorry, I'm in the wrong place. So yeah, I have site ID as value. I'll check if the location um, is uh, um, so in misselects menu, I need to shape my data that I need. So what I want to do is project uh, into an anonymous type. So this ID and then external identifier. Start external identifier. Where the site ID matches. So I don't need that either. So now matching location ID, and I select the sites, and they're only pulling through what I need. The ID, so I can match the external ID I want to return. So stop that. Run test. Fix that up. Right. So yeah, done that. I'll run it this time. Be able to see the vehicle that's generated. And this time, we're only pulling through what we need. Right. So I'm happy enough with that. So we'll fix the broadcast here. Okay, so looks like when I set up my customization in my haste, pardon me, I forgot to set the site ID. Should be able to run all those tests again. that passes. So just a setup error. So right now, realistically, going to need to pull these services into the correct layer. I'm just going to commit. In fact, I'll bring it into a branch. Refactoring. Middleware refactoring. Yep. Just in case. Right. So yeah, if you recall from the start of the video, I realised that these are in my API, and now that the refactoring is complete, I can pull these into my application services. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put let's paste them here. So I'm just going to rename the namespaces. This one. Easier to do is one by one. Really sharp has done all the lifting. I should be able to pull in a package. There we go. Let's close all these. But my services tests are in my API, so I need to shift these. Collapse everything. So new XUnit test project. I'm going to call this concierge management application services test. That's here from. Might have to change that. API. Let's have a look. Yeah, empty folder. Created new test project. Base. So I need to pull these, cut them, paste them here. Same as before, update the namespaces. In the libraries. And substitute. Sessions. This will be test shared. This and application services test. And that should fix this. Yeah. So Resharp has done all heavy lifting there for me. Putting that on as well. So services have been moved. Tests have been moved. So it's all that's left me customisations. And I don't want to copies of everything across my test project. So first thing to do is see what is used in the test project I copied my test classes from. So I'll start with entity and auto mapper composite customization. And this is no longer used. And so I'm just going to pull this in. And customizations. So I'm going to need my folder. Folder. Composite. Composite. And I can just put some version. So entity customizations. Again, it's not used, so I can take that and yeah. These come from the library. Auto map customization. This is used. And this is used across a few. So I'm just going to leave that where it is for now. And check the other couple that I've pulled in. And tidy these up. So that's all good. Namespace. Yeah. So start an opera here. Again, that's an opera here. Same in this one. So I can see automatic customization is the only one that's currently missing. So I am just going to duplicate this. So I'll copy that and put that in. So now I notice that my mapping is contained in the API as well. So I need to pull this into here. So that's all broken references fixed up. Let's figure out where I want. So I can pull in that one. Same here. Try rebuilding. See what we're left with. Yeah. Fix some of my references there. Yeah. For rebuild. So I'm just left with errors. Here, let me test. So that should be it. So it should build. And now that's done, I'm going to run the full test suite. and everything looks good. So every only thing left to do is give it a quick manual test. So I start it again. And up and running. So good. Management responsible. Well, that didn't happen earlier. uh, the test suite again. Let's not have ran it properly. Right, so we do. Uh, this is going to name test. This is probably let's do with this. Right. That's gonna I'm gonna need to solve. The reason why is uh, it's creating random numbers if I don't provide a site ID. So occasionally it might match what I've already feeded in to the database here. Um, I'm not worried about that for now. Right. So what we did have was working. So, some try tenant works, location works, and site works. Everything seems to be working. Let's try grids and build those work as well. So yeah, that concludes today's video. I think I hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did. Certainly a lot better than theory. It's nice for into practice. So as I walked through the API, I did discover things that I didn't like. The inefficient database querying code in the middleware, which we refactored. out and add a test. So yeah, fixing inefficient database querying. We had code in the wrong layers. I remedied that and added further tests to my project. I were also able to rely on the existing tests as part of my refactoring. So now I have 55 tests covering my code base. So I hope this is giving you some useful insight for your own development and why writing tests first can be beneficial to your own project. I was then able to give my API a quick smoke test. Found a few further issues, but easily sorted in end. But imagine having to do that refactor without tests. I could introduce new bugs or keep reintroducing old bugs. I've not touched this project in months, so coming back at it with fresh eyes was beneficial in finding an inefficient DB querying. But also there is logic that I haven't touched in all that time. The tests were my safety net. If I broke existing logic, then I got feedback. So my next video will focus on the function. It will need to use a tenant service or repository instead of duplicating the same use case that we just refactored to. So if you'd like to follow along on that refactoring, then subscribe so you don't miss it when it's released. And I appreciate you sticking around to end. See you at the next one.